Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is primarily about beta feedback. I want to kind of give my overall thoughts and impressions on the game. I know I've already kind of talked about the holistic view of whether or not you should buy the game or not. But this, obviously, if you are interested in the game, what could they potentially fix? Because they have a kind of a tight window between now and when the Vanguard launch actually happens on November 5th. Enjoy the video, learn something new. Please do me a favor, hit the like button. Brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. My Gfuel code is still discounted until the 20th if you want to go ahead and check it out. Let's go ahead and kind of look over the list and kind of talk through my overall thoughts. So pretty much how this list worked out was pros and cons were essentially things that are in the game that will likely not change. And then will be or needs to be fixed are things that will likely be fixed at some point, or we will hope they be fixed. So let's talk about the pros, because everyone thinks, hey, you're just being negative. Well, the whole point of feedback isn't going to be like positive feedback all day, because there's no such thing as a perfect game. We're trying to min-max the game the same way we do our loadouts. So we're going to do that within the actual feedback as well. When it comes to the pros, there will be an anti-cheat at launch. We don't know how good it's going to be. We don't know if it's going to be amazing. We don't know if it's going to stop cheaters, because there were cheaters in the beta. I didn't really run into any, maybe a one or two wallers here or there. But obviously, depending on, what mode you were playing, and if you're playing in a group or whatever time of day, region, you're going to run into more cheaters than others, because there's literally not an anti-cheat in the beta. So people could just get away with that. Graphically, if you have this better than Modern Warfare or slightly worse than Modern Warfare or about the same as Modern Warfare, because it's basically the same engine, slightly tweaked, then this is either first or second best looking COD of all time. Because Modern Warfare, regardless if you like the engine, the way it functioned, the mechanics, the gunsmith, whatever, essentially the game looks graphically about as good as any COD ever. And that doesn't say a lot, because COD was never about graphics. That's one thing that Battlefield always excelled in, was graphically it looked better. It was a PC game that essentially looked better on PC. Call of Duty was like, no, we're appealing to our console audience, so they never pushed the limits on graphics. It just always ran at 60 FPS. So graphically, this thing looks amazing. FOV on console at launch. We don't know if it's going to be at PS5 or next gen only or old gen, but the fact that we're getting FOV at all is interesting. Hopefully we'll find out more about what platform it's going to be on. It's not pay to win. Although there are blueprints that you can help to level you up a little bit quicker. You could buy Doritos or whatever the hell, get double XP codes or whatever. There's not anything inherently pay to win, the same way like in the past that we had where there was stat altering variants. We don't really have that. And I don't envision that coming back into COD, because a pay to win concept doesn't necessarily make sense in general. And especially not in a paid full game. On top of that, in terms of content, you'll have a full campaign, which is usually about 5 to 6 hours, unless you try to replay it, min-max it, get all the achievements, and then also go through on the higher difficulties or whatever. Generally, you get about 6 hours out of that. Zombies, tons of replay value. We haven't seen anything about zombies, but we know it's led by Treyarch, so that's a huge bonus. Since Treyarch seems to be the predominantly more popular zombies mode maker, right? And then we have MP, which is a full-on mode all by itself, and that's probably what you're most interested in. And then later on, that's what you get for the paid. But then the free-to-play portion comes in towards the end of November, will be Warzone, and that should be pretty interesting all on its own, with literally piggybacking all the loadouts and systems and engine and 10 attachments and new perks, and all that stuff should be happening. And hopefully we get that FOV over on console. Then we also have 16 multiplayer maps at launch. And even though they say 20, the 4 maps are part of Champion Hill, which I don't really count as part of multiplayer. That's like Gunfight saying, hey, you know what? These maps are part of the game. I don't really count those part of the core map. 16 is still a lot to have for the 6v6, 20v20, 20, all the game modes essentially within that. So those are good things, and none of those things are changing. I could add another one on here. DLC is free for COD going forward. And that's pretty much, I would say, are the good things. The TTK and high vital damage, they're not calling it like critical damage or anything, but vital, well, I guess we'll find that out more. It's probably upper neck, upper torso. You get a vital damage, and then a headshot damage is maybe compared as 1. So it's a bigger box. Right now it's incredibly high. And we talked about this a lot on stream, that a lot of the guns can obtain TTKs of around 200. if you get even one headshot in the mix. So it's very forgiving. They need to adjust that value. I don't see them doing it because it's all geared towards, like we talked about in our last video, lowering that skill gap, making it more appealing to the casual, that they can get a kill on anyone and they can also get killed by anyone. So it's like no skill involved. It's just like, just run around like a chicken with your head cut off, or camp. It doesn't matter. You're going to do average because SBM is also in the game. With the current method of SBMM, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it should be tweaked because there should definitely be some kind of skill-based matchmaking. But the iteration that they've been using in Modern Warfare Cold War, not really a fan of. And it's coming back, especially if you played the beta. You already know how that's already working. We'll obviously do more testing once the game launches. Last gen graphics and optimization are trash. If you are on PlayStation 4 on the old Xbox, probably wouldn't buy this game unless you see that something's updated near around the time of launch, because I've seen enough graphical issues that it's not going to fix anything. Score streak system, we talked a little bit about this when we did our other video. It doesn't reward any type of objective play. I even showed this off on stream where I literally just watch my teammates and they do not move. They just post up. No one's playing the objective. You'll lose 100 to like 200 in Dom because they literally don't even capture any objectives. They don't move. Spawns are terrible. There's too many attachments for the guns, which we're going to talk a little bit more about attachments as we go into some of these other issues fixing. Too many well, like the last gen, I don't think that's actually going to get fixed, but we'll see. And this perk to access the minimap, that's probably not going to change, even though for me that's a con. No factions. That like you can take it or leave it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a con because there should be two distinct teams when you go into a match. Power positions are way too powerful. They've been made way too powerful. If you're on Red Star, you can just camp on the top of the building or camp some certain edges, which are just way too powerful. The boat on Gfuel, broken. No map voting, which I don't see that coming back, sadly, because of the way the lobbies work. Is like, I guess because every map essentially has different player counts. Like one will have 12v12 and the other one will be 18 versus 18. But they're both blitz, so that doesn't work. So I think that's why map voting will probably never come back, and disbanding the lobbies, because it's going to throw you into a new blitz. It's 12v12 or 14 versus 14 or 18 versus 18, and there's no way it can keep the lobby together because of the way the quick matchmaking works. The only way they could keep it together is if there is a dedicated playlist option where you queue into it, and then it would be like always 6v6 or always 12v12, and then you would just cycle through all the maps. That's the only way they can keep the lobbies together, but I don't see that happening. Strafe mounting, like what the hell is the point? Like, why did we take an already broken mechanic and then break it some more with allowing movement? Drop shotting just doesn't function properly. Some people are pro and against this. Personally, I think it's a con. I think you should be able to drop shot. It shouldn't be so realistic that you got to put your hand out. Kind of what it is. Blind fire seems kind of pointless. It'll probably be cool in the campaign, but and maybe certain maps will exploit it, but I literally don't think I got killed by anyone. And I played for almost 40 hours in the beta, and I didn't get killed by anyone, and I didn't try to kill anyone using blind fire, so I don't see it. And then Gunsmith, overly done. It's all there to sell blueprints, so that's not going to change because it makes too much money. Now, will be fixed, need to be fixed. They've already expressed that audio is going to be fixed, but we have no clue what that's going to sound like until we get a day one patch. Or maybe they allow content creators to play it like a couple weeks early, and then we can get the audio out, because they're not going to do a full-on another beta. It's just not going to happen. Sunlighting, graphical errors, hopefully those get fixed. They typically do get fixed. Anytime we've ever had issues with betas, they generally get fixed pretty quickly, and then by the time the game launches, it usually is pretty smooth. They usually only have issues with servers because there's so many damn people trying to jump on them. Visibility. It's still very hard to spot people, regardless of the range, regardless of the map, regardless of what you're looking at, what optic. It's still, visibility is a little bit hard. Could be better. We had the same issue with Cold War, and it never actually got to a point where I felt like it was good. So I don't know if this will actually be fixed, but it is what it is. And then spawns, they've decided to go with the squad spawns. I hope they decide to go away from it, because squad spawns are terrible. Normally the way COD used to have spawns is it would have you spawn here, here, or here. And if you're on the other side of the map, you spawn here, here, or here. And that's it. Those are your 6 spawn locations. And if these ones are blocked, then you're going to be carried out to another one. If these ones are blocked, then you're carried out to another one. This spawn logic forces you to spawn near teammates. So if your teammate is in a bad spot where they're about to get shot, you spawn in, no awareness because you literally spawned into a random spot. Your teammate's getting shot, and then you get shot. So the enemy gets a double kill just because you happen to be standing there and you weren't aware of it. Sometimes you could be facing the back to them because they just happen to spawn right before you because they squad. So squad spawns are a lazy way to do spawns. They did them in Modern Warfare, and they were the worst spawn system we've ever had in Call of Duty. And they've decided to repeat that. I don't know why. Why? Like, it makes no sense. Like, it's intentional. It has to be intentional at the point because they're that bad. Sprint to fire in general needs to be fixed because you can actually sprint and your ADS, you'll be ADS and you cannot fire your weapon in, like, even though you're fully aimed down sight because the sprint to fire is that slow. And normally that never happens. Usually the sprint to fire is always faster than the aim down sight so that you could always fire a bullet before you're fully aimed down sight. And for whatever reason, they may have it backwards or whatever, but it's currently not functioning properly. And that leads to more campy playstyles just because you get punished very hard for moving. And I showed this off actually on stream. I made sure that I did not sprint. I basically disabled sprint, walked around the map, and I got like 3 KD, got second, third most kills on the entire lobby out of 36 players because it was 18 versus 18. And I got good streaks, everything. Like basically just walking. Like not even moving because you stay alive longer. You're not dying. You're going to be able to get more kills, which lead to more streaks. And it enables people to just play that way, which because there's not really a drawback other than you're moving around the map slow, but you never get punished in a gunfight. Glitches, inherently those things will get fixed. Slide cancel reset. This is one I'm kind of torn on. A lot of people don't realize this, but when Modern Warfare dropped, nobody knew that there was a slide cancel, which now it's more referred to where you slide cancel essentially resets your auto attack sprint or your attack sprint. That wasn't a thing at the beginning of the game's life cycle. So it felt a little bit clunky. No one even knew that the movement worked that way. And then eventually it became popularized. I don't know who did it, but it became popularized. And then everyone thought that was the new norm. And everyone's kind of emphasized slide canceling and reset auto attack sprint for one, your movement. And then also like just get around quicker, like in Warzone. It got very popular in Warzone. It wasn't really even really a big thing in Modern Warfare until like everyone got kind of exposed to it. And then now it's not in the game because it was never intentional. They've essentially removed that element and people are like, oh, I want my movement back. For me, I don't care if they keep it or take it away because at the end of the day, movement's penalized anyway. So you shouldn't even be moving if you're actually trying to do well at this game. Unfortunately, you're just going to get gunned by people that are walking. And it's with the current state, you are almost always better to walk than to ever run or attack sprint. So hopefully they get it situated so it finds a fine balance. That's what people are used to. But if we're switching the engine to Warzone, it's going to change the little things up and you're just going to have to get used to it. Essentially, you will get used to it. But I could care less either way. It seems like people are split on that one. But I think a lot of it has to do with the sprint to fire speed. Glide bombs, completely broken. Redo the system. Make it so it's usable. There's tons of clips on keyboard and mouse players completely destroying their mouse pad and getting rug burn essentially on their fingertips. Or I guess mouse pad burn or whatever you call it. Ghost combined with Overkill. That is a complete joke. The fact that you can run 2 primary weapons with 10 attachments each and Ghost is incredibly broken, especially once this becomes a Warzone thing. They're going to have to rebalance the perks. It's like, we know these things ahead of time. Like, why not just fix it right off the bat? Overkill should always be with Ghost, so you have to choose the same way you've had to choose in Warzone because it makes it too easy. If they're separate, then that's just what you'll choose every single time. Obviously, we still have another 6 perks that we're going to see, 2 in each category. And then maybe there's going to be something more desirable than Overkill, but it's kind of hard at this point to pick anything over Overkill, Ghost, and then maybe Recon or Radar, the perk's called. A ranked playlist, that would be cool. They haven't hyped it up. No game's ever really launched with the ranked playlist because usually the game fundamentally is flawed from the beginning. But a ranked playlist should be there day one, just like zombies, multiplayer, and campaign. 100%. They need to prioritize that for the future because they want, obviously this is more for the competitive players, but they want the CDL to thrive. You need people knowing that there's a ranked playlist. It should be there day one every single time. And the system should be rewarding where you actually want to grind it. Mantling is very clunky. I think this is intentional. And combined with the sprint to fire time and the weapon raise and lower times, I think it's intentional, but it should be worked a little bit because there's literally areas of the map where it's kind of like, okay, if I mantle this, I'm at a huge disadvantage. So much so that if they're I can't see the person up there, but if I happen to mantle up, I'm dead. and you don't get a chance to react or move, you're dead because the TTK is so low. So I think they got to rework a little bit of that, make it a little bit smoother. Maybe there's going to be a gung-ho style perk with attachments that'll fix that. But kill cams, I think they need a little bit of work. They're not very consistent. They do last kills instead of sometimes play the game. Sometimes it cuts off halfway through. They're very short. They don't actually include the whole thing. If you go to execute someone, they don't even show you walking up to the person you're executing. They don't show any like health details, how many hit markers were landed. Like IW had some clean ones. World War II had okay ones too, where it kind of give you an idea of how much you got shot by who and all that stuff. Streamer mode would be cool, just so that you can stream without feeling like you're getting stream sniped or people playing different because they, oh, JGOD's in the lobby. Let me camp to get these dogs so that I could say I called dogs on him. It's like, what? Like, why you be weird? Just play your game normally. And then slide, cancel, reset. We already got that in there. I think it was a copy paste. There are other things, but in general, I think overall the game as a whole, like the skeleton, the bones of the game, is going to be a solid game. I think it'll do really well. I think there's certain decisions and design flaws that are hurting and holding everything back. Number one, if they just fix TTK, for me, that solves like 90% of all the issues in the game. One of the issues that people had with maps is like, oh, the maps suck. But the maps do not suck. The problem is the fast TTK combined with terrible spawns don't actually allow you to know how good maps are. Same issue happened in Modern Warfare because of the spawns and the fast TTK. Several of the maps were inherently bad, but we'll never know how bad or good they were because they never fixed spawns and they never fixed the TTK. So will they fix it? I don't know. We're dealing with a different studio. Infinity Ward versus Sledgehammer, completely different. Maybe they'll make up their mind and actually solve the issue. Now let's talk about one last thing I have with the Gunsmith as an issue. All right, so I went through and I leveled a lot of these weapons. I actually went through and I played a lot of time to max these out. And really, most of these things are almost all the same for all the weapons in terms of the grips, the magazines. They're slightly different, but for the most part, in a specific weapon category, they pretty much do the exact same things. And there's just a lot of them. So usually this one will be a faster fire rate, less damage. So it's kind of like the trade-off. Still a small mag. Maybe it's good for hardcore or whatever. And then you have all of these ones where you got subsonic, FMJ, frangible, armor piercing, incendiary, lengthen, hollow, which all do different things. But you get to equip all of these. You're not limited. You don't have to pick and choose like we've had to in the past with the pick 10 system. So when you go over here, the one that has me more nervous is vital. This is an example where it says you are more trained in hitting the vital areas of the body and can now more easily land critical shots. So what this means to me is that they basically, let's say their vital area for this weapon was only the head. Well, now it's expanded to the head and the upper torso, which for this could be good for snipers because instead of having to get a headshot, now you can get upper chest and then at least you get a one-shot kill, right? Like that would make sense. In this, that doesn't make sense because the way that these values are set up currently is that right here you do 43 damage and this one is 29. If you do a base damage, it's 29. If you do a vital damage, it's 43. Well, now instead of having to get 3 chest shots and a headshot, well, now 3 chest shots will automatically get you the kill. And that's essentially what that perk does. And that is not balanced. And pretty much most of the guns will have that option. And for guns like this, where the TTK is already incredibly fast, or you go to like I don't have the Volk there. You're going to have different options where these guns will kill faster than ever, especially with SMGs. It becomes incredibly difficult to balance, especially with 100 health and instantly getting deleted. We talked about this also on stream that majority of these weapons TTKs are between 200 and 300, while the average reaction time for a regular person is 250 milliseconds. That means that more often than not, by the time you register that you've already been hit, you're essentially already dead. You have no chance to react. At the end of the day, having the opportunity to guarantee essentially they're going to have a good TTK, like faster than you're shooting, or to potentially equip something like frangible, which is going to give the enemy more kick and more flinch, so it gets harder and it's inconsistent. One time I get shot from this player and I have a certain amount of flinch, I adjust for that. This time I get really big flinch and I can't adjust for that. Or now I got a headshot and then that person ended up killing himself. Like the mechanics are there to essentially like make things broken. And even with this case, you can combine that's why they didn't let us use these, because we would be exploring these broken things, even though they extended the beta. Hollow point, limb damage will still do the same damage as the rest of the body. So combine hollow point with vital. Now you got the recipe where your TTK is always fast, because you're not going to get lower TTK for limbs, and you're going to get vital kills more often. So essentially you're always going to get the fastest TTK, which essentially means you have a broken TTK of 200, 250 milliseconds. Now everyone gets deleted, and there's not actually any kind of gunfights. It removes that element from the game, removes reaction time, and it just causes people to play a little bit more passive, and it makes maps essentially unplayable. So will they change? What they won't change? We'll have to find out. Obviously, we won't know this stuff at like level 41. That's kind of hidden there. We have the level 35. So these are more, maybe they'll have more unlockables, but there's 2 hidden here, here, and here. And then we have 40 weapons that are supposed to be at launch based off all the rumors. Like right now we only have 2 launchers, but there's gonna be a 4 launchers. They need to buff the launchers because these ones, you get hit markers. They don't even lock on. You get hit markers on a counter UAV. So they got a lot of work cut out for themselves. Will it be flawless at launch? Will it be flawless at launch? No, 100% not. Will they meet us in the middle somewhere where there's a little bit of a skill gap and you still keep the casuals involved because skill-based matchmaking, you got slow leveling, whatever? Hopefully that's the case. I think I went through some of the hotter issues from this. There are obviously good things. There's bad things that probably won't change. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that is likely changeable. And that's what we're looking for. Hopefully when it comes out, we'll be excited to play it, and we'll have a lot of great things to talk about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit longer. If you enjoyed it, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.